Sarah and I went to a Michigan State basketball game at the Breslin Center in East Lansing the other day, and here is the view from our seats. Pretty nice. Well, that's not the concern. The view is fine. It is the policies of Michigan State regarding ADA seating. Well, we pulled into our seats right here, and we were told that I had to park my wheelchair in this little taped off area that had a number on it that matched my ticket. And it was about ADA says you have to have a 30 by 48 inch area for me to park. And there's no way that was 48 inches wide. People in a manual wheelchair could probably make that work. People in crutches sitting on a regular chair could make that work. But my power chair, that wasn't going to happen. Then we were told further that we weren't going to be sitting next to each other. We had to sit behind each other. So either I would sit in the front and Sarah wouldn't be able to see over me, or Sarah would sit in the front and I would do my best to see over her. Now, we've been to other arenas, as you can see here, and I did a YouTube video about how easy it was to get around, but we had never heard of a policy where you had to sit behind the person rather than sitting next to them. What would happen is you came in from the right-hand side, from the corridor, and there were two sections of seats or taped off areas for people to sit to my left. So they had to get past me before they could get to their seats. Well, they're already in their seats, so that wasn't a problem. But during the game, one of the women there had to get up and go out to buy a drink or something to eat, whatever. And in order for her to get out, she had to squeeze between Sarah and I, who were sitting, behind each other. She had to step over my foot pedal on my wheelchair and get out. And the same thing when she came back. Well, her husband was in a wheelchair, so if he had wanted to go out, which is certainly his right, I don't know how he's going to do it. I was going to have to move my wheelchair out into the corridor, allow them to get out, pull back in, and then when they returned, I'd have to do the same thing all over again. So that didn't seem that was going to work either. Sarah asked the usher, who was very nice, what could we do? Who do we complain to? And she said, well, go to the customer service desk and they should be able to help you. Sarah did that, and they said, okay, somebody's going to call you from the ticket office tomorrow. Well, it has been just over 24 hours since that game tipped off, and we have not heard from anybody from Michigan State or in the Breslin Center. So there's another strike. While we were kind of complaining to the usher and complaining amongst ourselves, one of the women who was sitting there, and here's the view when you're sitting behind somebody. So not so good. Not as good as that first view I showed you. But anyway, she said she had been a season ticket holder for 40 years. 3 years ago, her husband got Parkinson's, so they had to get ADA seats. They continued to get their season tickets, and she says that this policy went into effect last season, which makes sense because Sarah and I went to a game in 2017, December of 17, 3 seasons ago, and had no problem. Sat next to each other, no worries, and it wasn't an issue. But she said that changed a few years ago. So what I was wondering is, I go, well, how can this be legal by ADA standards? And why doesn't anybody else do this? So I looked at the ADA website. I went to ada.gov, and that's where I found the information about how big of the seating area is supposed to be. And then I found out the smoking gun, which is coming up here, but they say that accessible seats can be bought by one person and up to 3 companion seats can be bought. And here it is here, if you can read it. This is from the website. Up to 3 companion seats can be bought in the same row. And the seats must be contiguous. Contiguous means touching. So they got the contiguous part right. We're touching back to back, but it's definitely not in the same row. So we're going to contact Michigan State, and I will let you know what happens there. But it was not a great experience for us at the Breslin Center last night.